Skywarp72, Cruizers Gaming, and let's face it, forums are rapidly becoming a thing of the past. I've read more than one article about this over the last few years, as Facebook's advantages have been making forums as barren as the wastelands in Mad Max. Forums are not a completely dead art form, but I'll admit I've found myself with the best communication with fellow Forza players in the groups on Facebook versus the forums over at forzamotorsport.net. So needless to say, I'm an active part of many Forza groups on Facebook. Well, you know, except for Forza Racing Network, who kicked me out and blocked me for, I think, calling out a fellow member who was writing articles on Forza with all sorts of wrong information on a site he was calling Zen of Cars. I did so in the video titled, "This Car Pack Sucks," and I poked some fun at the guy, but I didn't mention his real name for respect for his privacy. Just his poorly written article on his site. Which I couldn't figure out why they kicked me, a very unknown and obscure YouTuber, when fellow members in the comments section were much more harsh. Wow. Was that my first rant? Cool. Anyways, aside from that, my experiences with the numerous Facebook groups have been overwhelmingly positive. From Make Forza Great Again, to Fast and Clean Racing. For the most part, I have seen fellow car lovers and clean racers who are productive members of the Forza community, sharing everything from tuning to fictional stories of restoring lost or forgotten rides in the game. And that's what I want to talk about today. From the time I was old enough to write words on paper, I have been writing stories, and even some cases books, as I have literally handwritten 3 different fictional Cruisers books, each one amassing over 100 handwritten pages. Needless to say, I'm a sucker for a good story, especially when that story relates to cars, hence why Stephen King's Christine was such an inspiration to me. So when I started seeing the restoration stories in the Facebook groups, I always took time to read them. I told you about my writings to help you understand something if you are not a writer. Conjuring up a plot, characters, character depth, dynamic and static elements to both the characters and the plot depth, I mean, it's a lot of work. And I've read some superbly written fictional car stories in these groups' posts. Always included in the post too are the obligatory before and after pictures taken in-game, showing the signs of a great imagination. And imagination universally drives both the creation of a good story and the racing world when it comes to racing innovations.
Imagination.
Now, we all know that a picture speaks 1,000 words. And in talking about these stories, one group in particular has stuck out amongst the rest. Scepter and Company are a team of some of the most talented Forza photographers in one bunch. They offer a place for players to get started into the photography scene, and a place to get tips and tricks from others to improve their skills. While I had noticed it was a very positive and productive group over the time I had been a member, what really caught my eye were the stories of the rust to riches they had. This story is from Cameron Horton. Build story. So the other day I was walking from my local shop when I saw a very sad and half-finished 1969 Fairlady Z432 outside someone's house deep in the foliage. So I knocked on the door of the owner's house and asked what was going to happen to with the Z. Turned out the owner had plans to build the car up and turn it into a track day car. Unfortunately, before he could complete it, the owner had been diagnosed with a physical disease, meaning he could not complete it. He said, "As long as I can see the car once you have done it, you can have it for $5,000. So I bought it. First thing I did to the car was stripping it down and putting it back to its factory state. So I had the horrible pointy front bumper removed and replaced with the stock one. I also had the alignment put back to stock as it was originally set up for the fender flares, although I did put a set of HRE deep dish wheels on it as it had those fender flares. I also had a Rocket Bunny ducktail put on it. The paint at this point was only pure primer. After rolling around in it for about a month and gathering funds to do what I wanted to do, the engine packed in. So I swapped it out for a 2JZ. Once I had the funds, I got the rims dipped in carbon fiber wrap and the car painted in a nice dark silver. Then I had a full Rocket Bunny wide body kit added, and then I finally added some airbags so I could look at the car at the events I go to. Once the car was complete, I took it to the guy who I bought it off of, and at this point he was in a wheelchair due to his disease and couldn't come for a ride in it. But he started blubbing, and this is better than I ever hoped it'd be. Overall, I spent about 50 grand getting the car to where I wanted it to be, and after asking a few car buying services, it's apparently worth $150,000. But I'm not going to sell it. I don't think I ever will. I was a sucker for this one by Martin E. Epperson. Looking through the classifieds, I'd found an ad. There were no photos, just a small entry that says 1958 Plymouth Fury for sale. Needs a lot of work. Make an offer. Arnie Cunningham, with an address to an old sawmill warehouse. So I made my way to see old Arnie. He was a really nice guy, eager to make a sale. In fact, he wanted to sell his car so much that he took my $300 offer and said that he had all the parts for repairs. All I had to do was work the cost off the parts in a sawmill. I couldn't resist, I shook his hand, and it was a closed deal. After getting home, I realized I had my work cut out for me. I don't think there was an inch of panel on that car that didn't need body work. For months I cared for that old Fury. I had become obsessed. Every body line had to be perfect for that color to shine. After some new suspension, a rebuilt 350, and some sweet window tint, she was finally complete. Nothing could come between us. Oh man, there's nothing finer than being behind the wheel of your own car. We went everywhere. Long days at the beach, smooth rides through the winding roads of the rainforest. I could always rely on her to get me to the store, and I couldn't ask for more. Things really went dark though. I have turned my back on my friends. Relationships won't work out because girls just don't understand my passion for the car. It seems like that old Fury just wants all my attention. And anytime I try to focus my attention on anything else, someone gets hurt. So, I have a 1958 Plymouth Fury for sale, mint condition. Make me an offer. Any offer. Like I said, I was a sucker for this one as it makes subtle references to Christine the movie. While it didn't happen in Scepter and Company's group, I noticed a little negativity sometimes in other groups about these story posts, making fun of the author as if he had no life. Well, the negativity was usually minor. Minor or not, don't be that guy. In case you didn't know, not everyone has the time or resources to restore every old car they see. That doesn't mean they love cars any less than anyone else and don't deserve that negativity. If anything, they deserve the props for these stories that give us the feels and remind us why we love cars so much. Most of us can't afford to drive a Lamborghini Centenario either. No one bashes when somebody posts about driving them in the game. To each their own. I hope you enjoyed the couple of stories that I featured, and maybe if this feature does well enough, I'll write my own and showcase it in a future vid. In the meantime, I want to hear your car stories, whether in-game or in real life, in the comments section below. I'll do my best to read each one, browning points however, if the car in question happens to be a Chevy Beretta. This week's subscriber shoutout goes out to the entirety of Scepter and Company. I thank all of you for the good stories, killer photography, and the support for the channel. You guys just keep doing what you're doing. And I thank the rest of you for watching this week's vid. Remember, you can keep up with what's going on in the world of Cruisers gaming by checking out our own Facebook group, the link to which will be down below. Remember, friends of the family we get to choose. See you next week, fellow Cruisers.